of the Small Business Big Presence Show. We are your hosts, Madison Black
and Rory Manatuga.
And this week we're diving into stage 2 of the Facebook page growth loop. And that stage is creation, where we're going to help you create an effective post-planning schedule that will help you to build consistency and connection.
Beautiful. So I thought before we dive into stage 2, we should probably cover off what stage 1, 3 and 4 are.
Or just all 4. Let's break down what they all are for everyone at home. So as we spoke about last week, stage 1 is gaining inspiration.
So if you missed that, check down below and go to bigpresentshow.com/3.
3 for last week's episode. And so we did talk about how you can gain inspiration for what kind of posts that you will do for your page. And it's really important that you have conducted that exercise in order for you to be able to effectively jump into stage 2 this week, which is creation.
All the fun stuff.
And then from stage 3, we're talking about how you interact with your page. And we move into stage 4, which is evaluation. But evaluation. As it is so named, it is a loop. So they all kind of speak to one another.
The circle of life.
It surely is.
Or the loop of life.
Or the loop of life. So this week we're talking about creation. And so we're going to get really clear on exactly how to create or make decisions around how to create posts for your page, and also what kind of schedule you need to be thinking about in terms of all the different interactions that you're going to be conducting on your page to make sure that it's consistent and that you're building that community. So, Rory, I think the first thing we need to dive into is exactly how we make some decisions around how, when, why we post.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to cover off decisions around frequency, decisions around the time of day that you're posting, and also the post types that you dug up from your wonderful research in inspiration phase.
Absolutely. So if we talk about frequency to start off with, this is something that I see so many questions about online as to how frequently should I be posting to my Facebook page?
Particularly recently, the answer is somewhat vague at the moment, particularly with the recent changes, of course.
Absolutely. In time gone past, it was the case that more frequent was better. And you would see pages that would be posting anywhere up to, say, 3 to 5 times a day, and that would be generating them really decent results. Now, because the algorithm has changed, as we speak about in episode 2, if you're posting that frequently but your audience just isn't engaging with it, it actually could be doing more harm to your page than good.
Definitely.
So it's really important as part of that inspiration research that you would have conducted last week to start taking observation of how frequently your posts are actually being interacted with. And so if you find that, and also how your competitors, how often they are posting.
Yeah.
So if you find that your competitors may only be posting even, say, 3 times a week, there are pages that just don't need to do much more than that. I tend to suggest that people start with a once a day.
Yeah, that's a good baseline to either adapt, like saying you're not getting enough and you can bump it up to 2 every other day, or it's too much, let's strip it back to, say, 4 or 5 a week.
Absolutely. And in terms of actually creating the content for 7 posts a week, it's not a huge amount of content that you have to actually be diving into.
Yeah,
I feel like it's fairly
exactly
manageable for people to start off with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then the other thing you want to be thinking about is what time of day are you going to post? And you can actually find out in your page insights, in your Facebook page dashboard, exactly when you see the most amount of interaction and engagement with your posts according to time of day. So if you're going to go and look for when you should be posting through the day, that's the first place I would suggest starting.
Perfect.
And then after that, again, come back to your competitors. Come back to who your ideal customer is and what time of day they're on Facebook. For instance, a friend of ours runs a business around teacher wellbeing. It's very unlikely that she's going to have any interaction during school hours through the week. And so she needs to take that into consideration when it comes to choosing a time of day to post. She probably wants to be posting after the 3 o'clock or even after 5 o'clock after the teachers have come home.
Come home and recovered from the day.
Absolutely. And I think that's really true of so many businesses. I mean, the majority of our customer base are going to have full-time jobs. So you're likely going to see the most amount of interaction happen in the mornings, around lunchtimes, or when people are on their way home, or in the evenings. I know commutes is something that people, especially if you have a podcast, is something you want to take advantage of. A lot of people are listening to that kind of content on the road. So you might be posting just before they get on the road in the morning to say, hey, the podcast episode is live.
Yeah, exactly. And with, it doesn't necessarily have to be a podcast either, of course. With the way smartphones are these days, it could be a video, it could be just more posts, it could be a blog post, it could be anything.
Absolutely. Just be really thinking about the customer or your client or your follower in terms of when they are likely to be most open to receiving that content that's on your Facebook page.
Awesome. And the final one we want to touch on is which post types to use. So of course, if you didn't catch us on the last episode, there were 4 post types. First one's text, image post types, video post types, and sharing a link. Now there is also a 5th one that's events, but that's more better used disparingly. So dropped in every other month, every other week.
And really probably most relevant to, say, local businesses, or if you're running online trainings or things like that.
Yeah, exactly. If you're leveraging that in your marketing strategy.
And so once you have an idea of what post types are most relevant to your business and your customer base, you want to be starting to put a plan in place as to which ones you're going to start trialing. So you've likely come away from the inspiration stage with an idea of which posts are going to be most relevant to start with. As we discussed last week, you actually don't necessarily want to be trying all 4 at once. My suggestion is even to start with 2, maybe 3, and be running those for at least a month or maybe several months to really understand how your audiences are interacting with them. And of course, when you're coming to choosing those post types, it's also going to come into your planning as to how you're going to create them. For instance, if you decided to go down the road of creating video, that's going to be a whole lot more investment in terms of time, cost, whatever it is to your business, as opposed to, say, just typing up a text-based post.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of, having text-based posts where it's just researching on the internet, getting it out of your brain, whereas videography, it needs a lot more resources. Same as creating graphics and images. Again, It's about leveraging the best results from the, what am I trying to say? You're trying to leverage...
Like, you want your time investment to produce the results.
Leverage your investments and your resources to get the best.
You want return
results
on investment. I think that's what you're trying to say. Well, and the other thing too to think about is, even though we've outlined 4, potentially 5 post types, there's actually a lot of variety that can be attained within each of those. For instance, in text-based posts, you can have short form posts where the post is so short that the text of the post, or the font, is larger, as you will have seen in the newsfeed. You can also be doing long form, almost mini blog style posts. You can be going down the road of running polls. There is a lot of different variety in each of the post types that you can choose to do. Images, for instance, you've got a lot of variety in terms of the size of image, or if you're doing quotes, or if you're just sharing pictures. Like, you can really think about what's going to suit your audience.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't feel limited by starting with just 2 post types, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. Be creative within those post types.
Absolutely. So once you've decided how frequently you're going to post to Facebook, at what time of day you're going to post most frequently, and then what kind of posts you're actually going to create, you then need to start putting some planning around doing all of that creation. And it's so important. I really want to stress the fact that you want to be booking this kind of time into your calendar. And I really want to emphasize batching. So if you're not familiar with the concept of batching, it's basically that you want to be focusing your efforts rather than being scattered throughout the day. So while we might suggest to you should be posting once a day to start off with, I'm not suggesting that you're creating a post every day.
No.
There are fantastic tools available to you through the Facebook platform to help you schedule your posts, and I would definitely be encouraging you to utilize those tools so that you can batch your efforts. You can be in the mindset of creating for your Facebook page in a specific time during the month, and then you don't have to really do too much from there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more or less marking in your calendar potentially like week 2 on a Tuesday afternoon. It's quiet. I'm going to block off, say, 3 or 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, just a chunk of time that's sizable enough to get a month, a week, a quarter. Probably not a quarter, that'd be a bit pretty tough, but
I mean, it's not unreasonable. I mean,
just a chunk of content out there.
Absolutely. What I've put together for this week is actually a post planner that will help you to determine how frequently you need to be working. And I've started that as a month planner. So Rory did mention quarterly. Once you start getting in the groove of things, and especially once you start really nailing down which post types are converting with your audience, there is no reason you couldn't spend a whole day at the beginning of the quarter and just get everything scheduled out.
Yeah, that's a good point though, especially when you're experimenting and you're on, let's say, the first loop of the Facebook growth loop. It is probably advisable to keep it to a month or less, because then you can evaluate, change it up, and then once you've nailed down, like Maddie was saying, that's when you can start extending that batch to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, a quarter.
Absolutely. So we actually have, we've broken it down into weekly, monthly and daily, or monthly, weekly and daily activity that we suggest you do in your business, so that you can start planning it into your calendar. Again, I very strongly suggest you actually put it in your calendar, because we all know how small businesses go. We've got a million different things. Marketing and Facebook pages are just 1 or 2 of them. And so it's really important that if you want to stay consistent, remember, if you're doing a good amount of creation, this whole stage, you're going to build consistency, and it's only through consistency that you'll build a community of raving fans with your page. So, Rawls, what should we be doing on a month-to-month basis?
So we should be planning, like, first thing, we need to evaluate what's come before us, I think. We need to see what post types have worked, we need to see what times of day, and make a judgment call on the regularity that we've done. Basically going back to the first things we covered off with that frequency, time of day, and post types. I think that's the first and foremost thing. What's
Absolutely.
The next thing, Matt?
Well, and in terms of evaluating too, obviously stage 4 of the growth loop is evaluation, and we'll go into more detail in that episode. But it is also important to be seeing what's engaging. What is engaging your audience? What's getting the most reactions, comments and shares? And be starting to figure out, okay, well, they're the kinds of post types that I need to continue to make more of. Yep. So you want to do that once a month, and my suggestion is you start evaluating just before the month has ended, so that you kind of like, the way I would like to work is to do all of this building of my content for Facebook in the week before the next month, so that you kind of have everything scheduled for the calendar month. Yeah,
exactly. Perfect.
And so then I would be suggesting you planning your posts, as we talked about. Once you've decided on your frequency and your time of day and your post type, it's actually going to a Google document or however you feel best about creating your content, and writing down every idea that you have and exactly what each post is going to be about.
Yeah.
Again, rather than turning up day to day and kind of going, oh, should I do a text post, and then like quickly throwing something together, having a bit more thought and planning go into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes it's good to create a couple of topics that you'll touch on throughout the month, and
absolutely have kind of an arc.
Yes, have an arc, stuff to leverage to get your creation juices flowing and getting it out on the page.
Absolutely. I know something that Rory and I did for our page is actually did a really big brain dump about a month ago of all the different ideas we had for the types of posts that we want to do on our page, so that we were in the zone. We got several different like short form posts, short form text posts, long form text posts. Like we've got lots of ideas there. So we've actually got a document now that will probably last us easily 3 months.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of our content. So that's a great way to do it too, is just do a big brain dump, start categorising your ideas by post type, so that you can be abiding by your schedule, and kind of just work through those, and until such time as maybe you've gone through all of them, and then you're doing a really big evaluation of what worked.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other thing you want to be doing each month, or once a month, is actually scheduling the posts. And so as what I mentioned earlier, you want to be using the Facebook page scheduling tool. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, we'll have a link in the show notes. You can go to bigpresentshow.com/4, and you'll see we've got a link there to the resource on Facebook as to how to schedule a post. All of those resources are always available to you via the Facebook platform itself. And the reason I want to really touch on that is because prior to the algorithm change that we've spoken about, it was very common for businesses to be using third-party scheduling tools, such as Hootsuite or Buffer or several others.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet Edgar.
Yeah.
And those post schedulers are being very harshly ranked in terms of the Facebook algorithm. Pretty much, you're going to get no reach.
Yeah, I think the Facebook has basically made a judgment call that that's very inauthentic to, even though you're doing similar thing, but I guess it's leveraging their platform as opposed to getting that third party action. So keeping it authentic and fresh is what they're encouraging, and so there's ways that you can leverage their system to do the exactly same thing.
Absolutely. Well, almost the same thing, and I'm pleased that you said authentic as well, because that is one of the newsfeed values that we spoke about in episode 2. What you can't do with the Facebook scheduler that a lot of those other services were providing was to put posts into like a recycling kind of mode.
Yeah.
So you might have the same post show up every 3 months, and that software would kind of handle it for you.
I suppose that's more the inauthenticity of...
Absolutely. Yeah, whereas Facebook doesn't allow you to do that, so you do need to be going and scheduling every single day's individual post. You can't get it to recycle stuff that's happened in the past. But again, if you're using Facebook the way we suggest that you do, in terms of you're going in for authentic connections, you're trying to build raving fans, that community of people that cannot wait for your next post to come out, you want to be making sure that the content that you're delivering is highly valuable, highly engaging, and highly on topic for your audience.
Yeah, exactly.
So be sure to be using the Facebook scheduler. And of course, as we said, once a month you could jump on and schedule every single one of your posts and have it done, and you don't have to think about it for the rest of the month.
Yeah, or within that same week that Maddie was talking about, like the week before the month. So you might go Monday, Tuesday is evaluation, Wednesday, Thursday is creation, and then day 5, Friday, is scheduling.
Or part of the creation as well, but yes,
yeah.
scheduling.
Scheduling, yeah.
So then, on a weekly basis, there's one task that I suggest you do once a week, and that is to go, it's part of the inspiration stage that we spoke about. So there is a function available to you in Facebook to actually go and monitor which posts your competitors are posting that are actually gaining the most traction for them. And this can be great because you can actually start to see, oh, well, this week they posted an image post that worked really well for them. They won't always be really high ranking, so do take in some of your own judgment, because it will just rank the highest post. It doesn't mean that they were particularly engaging. It just could be the best of a bad bunch. But how you do that is through your Facebook page Insights dashboard. You can go and watch your competitors' pages, which is an option towards the bottom of that page. And then if you click on each of the competitors once a week, it will show you the top ranking posts. So if you make that a regular thing that you might do on a Monday or a Friday, so you're not missing posts, because obviously as the days, if you make it an 8-day schedule, you're going to miss a day of posting from your competitors. You can start to capture and maybe even save some of those URLs of the post to give yourself inspiration when you do your monthly creation stage.
Yeah, exactly. Such a great tool by Facebook, and it definitely shows how much they do not want small businesses to evacuate the platform. So it's really a great tool.
Absolutely. And then what are we doing daily?
So daily we're doing a term that I would like to coin, farming reactions.
Farming.
It's not sticking well with Maddie, but
considering stage 3 is called interactions, that's what we're actually doing. You're still trying to make farming work.
I will make it happen, though.
But basically, we're interacting with our page in general.
Interacting with our posts, commenting on, doing our stage 3 interactions, basically, which we'll touch on in greater detail next week. But it's basically just responding to comments, liking, getting a bit of a community feel going.
Absolutely. And I think that this is so important to do on a daily basis, because it does show your currency, in that you're always on your page, that you care about your customers. I'm saying daily with the proviso that we have pretty strong boundaries around our business. Yeah. So I'm not responding to things on the weekend, but definitely Monday to Friday, or whatever the business hours of your business are, be doing a daily check-in to respond to all of the comments and shares and any other interactions that have happened on your page, so that your customers or your followers really feel that you've got a high touch and engaging and caring kind of side to the page.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of what you want to be doing on a monthly, weekly and daily basis. The last thing I would suggest too is that you want to be creating a weekly and monthly set of deliverables. So as we said there, those are the things we suggest that you do on the monthly, weekly, daily. But as we said earlier, put them into your calendar. Have reminders. I know I am no good at just remembering to do things if I haven't got I live and die by my calendar. And I would suggest whatever calendar works for you, whether you like to just have I know I use my Google Calendar, so I've got it all color-coded and everything like that, so I know when to do something. I've got all my recurring events set up. You might be more of a pen and paper style. I know that's your style that you probably prefer, Rory.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So choose what style works for you, but do put it into your calendar ahead of time so that you can really be booking that time out in your business and making sure you're available to do that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And then the last thing too I would be suggesting is, depending on the size of your business and who's going to be managing your page, that you decide who is going to do each of those actions. Because, for instance, the daily interaction really needs to be monitored and maybe managed by 1 or 2 people so that it's kept nice and clean. But you might have a separate person altogether who does the evaluation and the creation of images and videos and all of that kind of thing. So get clear on who's going to handle each different part of that growth loop so that you can be planned in the business.
And now it's time for our favourite section of the week, the section that actually matters, the Make It Real section.
Because let's get real, if you're just listening to this episode and not actually making these changes to your Facebook page strategy, you're not going to be attracting in those raving fans and actually seeing real sales results out of your Facebook page.
Exactly. So this week we want you to get creative. Download the Creation Monthly Planner and start planning an effective and streamlined schedule for managing your Facebook page.
You can grab that resource over at bigpresenceshow.com/create.
That's all for episode 4 of the Small Business Big Presence Show.
Be sure to tune in next week when we examine stage 3 of the Facebook page growth loop, interaction, where we're going to teach you how to interact with your Facebook page to drive reach and build relationships.
Until then, keep creating big impact in your small business with your big presence.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Remember, 62% of consumers use Facebook to help inform their buying decisions. Don't let your Facebook page stop one of your customers from investing in your small business. Get the lowdown on the 4-step system we teach our students to help transform their pages and turn presence into profit. And to be the first notified when we drop a new episode, be sure to subscribe to the show. Head on over to bigpresenceshow.com/subscribe to get started.